It's time for the Phil Ferguson Show.
This is Phil Ferguson, and you are listening to the cleverly titled The Phil Ferguson Show. I am so delighted you are here. This is a special episode. I know they're all special, but this is more special, the most asked for thing in the last several months, and I've been teasing it, promising it, and I finally have set aside the time to actually get this done. So this is the One About Annuities. And later in this show, I will have 3 examples of 3 different ways annuities could possibly work for you or against you, depending on your perspective and reality. They aren't all like this. One of the problems with annuities, at least annuities that are sold by salespeople, is that they are individually unique, and each one is governed by the contract that you sign. Every insurance company has different names for things, different clever ways to make the money disappear from your pocket while making it sound like you're getting protection. Is it possible for you to find an annuity that is actually quite good? Yeah, I guess it's possible. Where are you going to look? One of the problems is that annuities aren't bought, they're sold. And no, I didn't come up with that. That's a classic phrase in the investment industry. Almost no one ever goes and says, I want an annuity. And I'm going to go to the annuity store and compare all the models and the makes and the versions and find out the one that's best for my situation. That's not what happens. You end up running into a salesperson. Whether the salesperson normally sells stocks or life insurance, whatever, they happen to be also selling annuities. And of course, the one they have is the one that's perfect for you. And I'm realizing now that I may be getting a little ahead in my story. And the first thing I want to do is go over the word annuity. Of course, the word annuity can be used in many different contexts in the English language. I'm going to talk about a very specific use, but I also want to make sure that you don't think I'm talking about a couple other possible uses that involve the investment world, the retirement world. And I generally see the word annuity used in 3 completely distinct different ways, which does not help our situation. So I want to make sure that that's clear before we get started. The first one is a tax-sheltered annuity, often called a TSA, often called a 403B, and this is very, very similar to a 401k. You get a 403B generally if you work for a hospital or a doctor, a university, a school, a fire department, a police department, possibly a library, and or any other local, state, maybe even federal government agencies. You'll get a 403B, and again, it works very much like a 401k. Often this is a very good thing, and don't let the word annuity in there scare you. Just think of it as a 403B, or like I said, very, very similar to a 401k. And it can be adequate. It can be mediocre. It can also be phenomenal, depending on the investment options provided to you by your specific employer. So if you have a 403B, even though you might see the word annuity, tax-sheltered annuity, you're fine. You're going to be okay. The second common use of the word annuity has to do with your pending retirement from an employer. And they might often say something like, you're retiring in a few months, or your job is being eliminated, so you might be leaving by choice or not by choice. And they will say, hey, you're a member of the retirement plan. We can give you a lump sum or an annuity. An annuity there is used in a generic mathematical sense, which means someone is doing the calculation to decide how to pay out the money that is owed to you. How much per year, how much per month, and it can vary depending on whether you're single or married. Do you want the most money, but it stops when you die? Do you want a little bit less, but it continues on for your spouse? Do you want a little less, but it continues on for a minimum of 10 years, even if you die 1 month later? And there's all kinds of complications with that. I've done segments on that, and if people are interested, I can do a new segment on that. Retirement annuities, I guess, end of career annuities, I'll call it, I guess. I don't know. And those are also possibly okay. The trick there is to figure out what's the best deal for you. If they do offer a lump sum payment, my default is to consider that lump sum payment as cash today, and then figure out if one of the annuity models is better. If you cannot mathematically convince yourself or prove to yourself that one of the alternates is better, take the cash. That's my default position to start with. So it's not, should I take the lump sum or the annuity? My position is take the lump sum until you can be shown by the assistance of someone else or on your own that another option is better. And then there is the annuity that's sold to you that I was talking about earlier in the intro here when I got ahead of myself. And that's the one where you end up meeting someone who's absolutely delightful and maybe a little bit way too charming, and they happen to have the annuity that's perfect for you. And of course, often the worst is the friend or family member, someone who just got a brand new job, and they think they can make tons and tons of money. And matter of fact, they might be able to off of you. And they come to you and say, hey, Uncle Phil, I just got a job as a financial advisor, and they have this new product. And, I've heard all the phrases like, this is something you're going to want because I think when the company figures out how good this is for the investor, they're going to stop using this product. Or they'll say, you can make money when the market goes up and you don't lose anything when the market goes down. And on the face of it, if you're a regular listener to the show, the idea that you will make what the market makes when it goes up and not lose when the market goes down might initially, just for a second, sound like a pretty good thing. But hopefully your investing skeptically skills have kicked in and gone, wait a minute, how is that possible? How do insurance companies afford giant buildings in downtowns of large cities with their names ablazing on top if they cover you when you lose, when the market goes down, and give you all the money when the market goes up? Clearly, that's not how this shit works. And we're going to talk about that. I think I have 3 examples prepared for you. I'm kind of winging this intro, but I've got 3 examples prepared for you. Another thing about annuities is there's different types that I'm going to go over here in a generic sense, and then when I do the specific examples, I'll declare which ones they are. You can get a deferred annuity or an immediate annuity, and the deferred, of course, means you get the annuity payments later, and so you may have a period of time where you're adding money, and then you get paid out at some later date, and that's nice in a way. But it allows more time for trickery. And it also can create a problem where if you have been adding money, once you start taking money out, that's called annuitization. You've annuitized your investment, and now you start pulling money out. It can be really difficult and close to impossible to cancel that program once it's started. So if you ever do want to cancel an annuity, it's better to do it when you're still adding money, and you can ask for your money back. And there's complications with that too, and we'll get into some of that. Also, there's fixed or variable annuities. Well, actually, since I made this, there's fixed and variable annuities, and or fixed and or variable and or fixed and variable, whatever. So a fixed annuity might say we're going to pay out 4% every year, or 6% every year, or 7% every year. And make sure you understand that what it is paying out may not be how much it's growing. So if they promise to pay you out 7%, the annuity may only grow by 2%. So you're shrinking your investment by roughly 5% every year, and it will eventually go down. Also, with fixed payments, you can go to one person and they'll say, we'll pay 4%, and another one says they'll pay 7%. And 7%, clearly way better than 4%, but there's something you have to give up to get a higher rate of return, or a higher payout, not even a rate of return, a higher payout. And often that is less guarantee, less certainty that money will be left over when you pass away. And they may pay you a higher rate, but if you die in 3 months after starting the annuity, they pocket all the money and your spouse gets nothing. Your kids get nothing. It's not always the case, but it's often enough. So I think that's where I want to end the intro stuff. Oh, and the other phrase I always say is that people who sell annuities don't really need to understand how an annuity works. They need to sell an annuity. That's their job. That's what they get the commission for. They don't get a commission for educating you. That is not their job. They get a commission when they sell you the annuity. And we just had on a few episodes back an example where someone wanted me to start selling their products where I could literally make hundreds of thousands of dollars selling one life insurance product. It wasn't specifically an annuity, and it's complicated, but often annuities can pay 5, 8, I think I've seen up to 15% on the annuity. So buyer beware. We'll take a little intro break here, and then we'll start off with part 1 of annuities. This Investing Skeptically segment is annuities part 1, one of 3 I think I'm going to have. I haven't recorded the others yet, so we'll just call it part 1. That way I'll leave it's clean, even if there's not 3. So don't think anything about the 3. Oh, now it's like a Monty Python grenade skit. Counteth to 3. Anyway, annuities part 1. This is called the Guaranteed Mutual Fund. And this is a bit, I guess I'll call it, I've been doing for a long time. I've done multiple presentations in front of crowds, and I think I've even gone over this in the show, but it may have been many years ago, which is one of those things that I think in my head, I did that. Well, of course I did that. When was the last time I did it? I don't have the best notes on what was in former shows, so it may have been a few years when I went and pulled up my notes on this. The oldest version I could find was from 2014, so 6 years ago, but I think I even did it before then. So this is a classic. This is something, and it still applies, and it gives you, an example of one way an annuity might work. And again, every single annuity is unique. Now, if you go to a certain company and a certain salesperson and with a certain contract, yes, they might sell that contract to 4 or 5 different people. But in general, anytime anyone talks to you about an annuity, you can't really rely on anything specific. You have to understand and read the entire contract in detail. In this example, the Guaranteed Mutual Fund, which actually it has a warning page, and I'll see if I can find out what that is by the end of the segment, at finra.com. That's the watchdog group. And you know what? I'm going to take a quick pause and go search the web for it. Hang on. Wow. I'm back already. Well, that's so amazing. All right. I found what I think it is. It's changed a little bit. FINRA which is the national watchdog organization for investment advisors and brokers and stuff, which is an agency of all the brokers and investment advisors. So it's kind of like the hens watching themselves to protect themselves from the fox. I don't know. If you look up FINRA, FINRA, and then Google alerts, ALERTS, and the thing you want to look for is principal protected funds security has price. Wow, that's not really good grammar, but those are the words to use. And I haven't looked at this in years. I'm actually surprised it's still here. It used to be called guaranteed mutual funds, and it's an investor alert. And so FINRA is alerting investors that this is a potential problem. Of course, who the fuck knows that this is here? They don't, to my knowledge, make any effort to make this really, really, really well known. So it's there. Yay. And it's going to cover a lot of the things that I talk about. I'm just skimming through it, and so you can go read it there. So what I'm going to give you first in example number 1 of annuities here is the sales pitch. And keep in mind, this is really a thing that people can sell to you. And the first thing they might say is, you cannot lose your principal. So if you put in $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, guaranteed you're going to get your principal back. Awesome. In 10 years, you will make 40% return guaranteed. Absolutely, you will make 40% in 10 years guaranteed. Upside potential. The vast majority of this is invested in the stock market. And if the market goes up, your earnings go up way beyond that 40% that's guaranteed. Matter of fact, your upside potential is unlimited. Absolutely amazing. You can make a ton of money, and you don't have money at risk. This is the thing you're going to want to put your money in, not just for yourself, but for the children. Anyway, they'll often say that this is a new product. As an example, the fact that I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years, this specific story presentation, it's not new. It wasn't new then. It's funny. I just found out, I just realized, sidebar here, I've been telling people I've been doing this for 21 years. I just realized I've been doing this for 24 years. Funny little story. They'll tell you it's a new product. It is the best of stocks and bonds. All the bonds they have are AAA rated, and if you're a listener to the show, you know that that's absolutely fantastic. And the stocks are in index funds. I mean, how can you lose, and of course, 40% over 10 years is about 4% per year. And so these are all the good things that they tell you. By the way, 40% over 10 years is not 4% a year. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's 3.4% per year compounded. So even in the promotional material, it probably doesn't ever say 4% per year, but I bet the salesperson will divide that out and forget about compounding and tell you 4% per year, but it's not in the official documents presented to you. Of course, the official documents will say something like, nothing that any other employee has said has any value. It's only what's in this contract. So we're going to do a really small example with $100. And this is the one, I don't know, anyone who's followed me for a long time and seen me at either secular or just regular talks give this presentation. Sometimes I have a person come up on stage and we'd play with Monopoly money to make it a little more interesting, because giving a presentation about money can be boring. I get it. So we start with $100, and you expect to end up with $140, a la 40% 10 years later. Hey, what could go wrong? You invest $100, you end up with $140. Absolutely amazing, fantastic product. You're going to want this. Again, you can't lose your principal that's invested, and you're guaranteed. No, you're not guaranteed. You're guaranteed the 40% earnings. See, everything's got a trick to it. This is beautiful. I love this shit. So you expect to get $140 back, 10 years later. So let us begin. You have $100 to invest. And so you provide $100 to your insurance agent. You make your contribution, you purchase it, whatever we want to call it, but you put in $100. So the funny thing is there is a load. I often call it a load of shit, but there's a load, which means there's an upfront fee that you have to pay to get this product. Now, that was clearly disclosed in the 142-page contract, but you may have missed that part, and the salesperson might have, maybe could have, not remembered to tell you, but they don't have to because it's in the contract. And you read all 142 pages, and you signed the sheet at the back of the booklet that says you read it 142 pages and that you understand everything in it. I've tried to read annuity contracts. I don't understand everything that's in it. There's just no fucking way. And by the way, since I newly found out, 24 years I've been doing this and I still can't read one of those things and say confidently that I understand everything that's in it. I don't know if there's actually a limit to a load on a product like this. Mutual funds, the legal limit is 8.5%. I think it's 8.5%. Man. But this one, we're going to call it 8. Let's not worry about the half. We're just going to call it 8. I don't think on an annuity there is a legal limit like there is with a mutual fund, but we're going to just stick with 8. And so the first part of the trick here, you're going to love this. You don't actually invest $100. You invest $92. So everything else that follows is calculated on the $92 that you invest, not the $100 that you thought you invest. You spent $100. You thought you were buying something for $100, but you're not. You're giving the company $100. They take 8% off for the load, and you're investing $92. And again, it's all disclosed in the contract. The fact that you weren't paying attention, not their problem. So the 40% return that you make is on $92, not $100. And so in this fun example, what I do is I give someone Monopoly money. I give them $140. And then I say, well, you have to give me back $8 because you didn't really invest $100. You invested $92. So give me back $8. And then I ask them to give me back $3 more because the 40% return is not $40 on $100. It's $37 on $92. And yes, you can be more precise. I'm rounding this, trying to make this palatable for an in-person or now a podcast presentation. So you have to give me back $3 more. Now, the next thing is that while the returns, the 40% return is guaranteed, so are the expenses. It never says you get to take home $140. It just says you will make 40%. And you do. You make 40%, but you also have to pay some fees and expense ratios. And again, that's all clearly detailed in the contract. The first one, of course, is that a lot of this money is invested in mutual funds. They use the word index funds, and it's not even wrong for them to use the word index funds. But you assumed that the expense ratios were something like 0.1% because you hear somebody like Phil saying index funds are 0.2 or 0.1, or some of them are 0.07 or 0.04. And they play on that. That's why they're using the word index. And they can actually literally truly be index funds. But there's no regulation. There's no rule that says an index fund can't have a ridiculously high expense ratio. And this one is 1.8%. The average mutual fund is probably 1.4, 1.3, 1.5 versus an index fund. But these index funds, which are proprietary often, and that's a whole nother show segment there, but 1.8%. And you're going to be in for a minimum of 10 years because if you're not in the full 10 years, you don't get the 40% guarantee on your $92, by the way, not your $100. And if you want to take out money early, there's a penalty. Anytime within the first year is 10% of your money is lost, then 9, then 8, then 7. So you don't want to lose all that money, do you? You don't want to lose 10%. And of course, the 10% is based on the initial contribution of $100, not the money you invested a la $92, because they want to pocket the money that they give you. The next thing is that your investment is insured. You may not have known that, but you're buying insurance. That is how they can promise that you will never lose money. Well, your portfolio, the amount that you've invested, will never be below 40% return in 10 years. Of course, the fees, they're guaranteed too. Anyway, the insurance cost is 1.5% per year. So over 10 years, another $15. And of course, now I'm having the person with me on stage give me back $18 for the expense ratios and then $15 for the insurance. And if you think that's getting bad, you're right. But there's one more. There's one more little beauty on this that I just adore. If you use this in a taxable account, the bulk of the investment is actually in a thing called zero coupon bonds. Due to brevity concerns, I'm not going to go over that. But the beautiful thing is that they create a thing called imputed interest, and you have to pay tax on that interest every year, even if you don't actually receive it. And that works the same way on zero coupon bonds, whether you're in an annuity or outside of an annuity. So it's not a trick per se of the annuity. It's a trick per se of the annuity company knowing how these things work, and they don't have to pay the taxes. You do. And we'll just cut to the chase, and that works out to be about $8 that you're going to have to pay in taxes over the period of 10 years. And so, again, I've had the person give me back cash, and now I have them count up, and they started with $140 because they thought they were investing $100, and they thought they were going to get $140 at the end of 10 years, and they count this all up, and they end up with $88. Now, your first thought, a lot of people's first thought is, wait. You promised me 40%, that I would make 40%. You did. You made 40%. That's why you started with 140 when I started this little game. You made the 40%. That was guaranteed, and you did get it. The annual expense ratio of 1.8%, the annual insurance fee of 1.5%, the tax bill that you have to pay the federal government, those are also guaranteed. Well, and maybe that wasn't fully disclosed to you at the beginning, but that's how it works. So this is an example of what's called a guaranteed mutual fund, or what FINRA now calls it, principal protected funds dash security has a price. So you can go look it up on your own, and that's part of the beauty of investing skeptically, is you don't have to trust me or believe anything that I say. Go fucking look it up. Thus endeth part 1 of annuities.
A lot of people come up here and they thank Jesus for this award. I want you to know that no one had less to do with this award than Jesus. He didn't help me a bit. If it was up to him, Caesar Milan would be up here with that damn dog. So all I can say is, suck it, Jesus. This award is my God now.
You're listening to The Phil Ferguson Show.
Please be seated. Let us continue. Part 2 of the One About Annuities. This is something I'm going to be a little more specific. Actually, I'm going to be very specific. This is an actual product that was sent to me years ago from a company called, should I give you the name? It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter that their name is Nationwide, so I'm not going to tell you the name of this product because if I did, it would be called the Nationwide New Heights Fixed Indexed Annuity. But we're not going to go there because it's not really relevant. In the prospectus, no, not the prospectus, the promotional document, it says, quote, "It's important to remember that all protections and guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of Nationwide Life and Annuity Insurance Company." I did not even mention this in part 1, by the way. Whenever you buy an annuity, or matter of fact, life insurance, you only get the payout you're promised by the contract if that company has the money to do so. This surprises a lot of people. And it's something that you don't think of it, and they don't generally tell you. And it's the reason why they have all these ads, AAA rated insurance company. You want a AAA rated insurance company because if you put in all this money year after year after year, and then they go broke and you can't get your money back, what the fuck? Right? So you want a AAA rated company. The funny thing is, to become a AAA rated company, you have to make a lot of money and have a lot of money on reserve, which means you're very profitable. And those profits, of course, come from the people buying the insurance products and annuities. So it's good fun. It's always good fun. I happen to note in this case with this specific annuity, it pays a 7% commission. So if you were to invest $100,000, the advisor would make $7,000 right up front. That may be a deferred compensation by 3 months or 6 months to make sure that you actually stay in the annuity, but they're going to get $7,000. It also may have trailing commissions or ongoing commissions, and of course, every product is different. Another fun phrase that this specific annuity has is the CDSC is 10%. What is that, you ask? Well, there's a little asterisk or a little note. That's note number 17. And you go look, and that's called the contingent deferred sales charge. And that is a lot like our first example, where if you pull out early like a good Catholic, there's a fee. And I think this one was similar to the other one, something around 8 to 10% in the first year. And then they usually go down by 1% or so every years. Here's another disclaimer that the promotional document had, and I quote, "If you take withdrawals or surrender your contract, you may be subject to federal and state income taxes," end quote. Wait, what? Often, annuities are sold with the idea that you don't have to pay taxes on it. Well, there's always caveats, aren't there? If you take money out, you may have to pay taxes. And by the way, at the end of the day, way at the end, when you take the money out at the end, you're probably going to have to pay taxes too. Please check with your own tax professional. Another disclaimer, actually, in this document, quote, "You may be subject to a 10% early withdrawal federal tax penalty if you take withdrawals or surrender your contract before age 59 and a half. What the double fuck? Wait, so I have to pay taxes plus a 10% penalty? Yeah. And again, these are things that are often sold with the understanding that you're not going to pay taxes. Well, you may not pay taxes year after year as you're going along, kind of like an IRA, but you eventually have to pay taxes. And of course, it had another disclaimer, quote, "Nationwide does not offer tax advice," end quote. Well, that's fucking beautiful. They don't offer tax advice, but that salesperson will definitely tell you about all the tax benefits that are available to you. And of course, all of this is disclosed in the 172-page contract. Let's see here. It has a return of purchase guarantee, payment guarantee. You are guaranteed to get back all of your money if you wait at least 10 years. And so the funny thing about this, if you wait at least 10 years, so if you put in $100,000, 10 years later, they'll give you $100,000 back. They promise. So they get to hold and cuddle with your $100,000 and presumably invest in some stocks and bonds and make 5 or 7 or 10% per year. And they get to keep all of that and then give you back your original contribution. That's fucking brilliant. Also, you can get your money back if you die. And maybe if you have a terminal illness, not available in all states. You cannot be an annuitant after the age of 80, which means at some point they will force you to annuitize and start taking out the payments and paying taxes on that. And this is here. There was a sentence. I love this. This is how it works. This is them explaining to you in simple, plain language, in plain English, not contract language, how it works. Quote, New Heights offers you multiple balanced allocation strategy options known as strategy options, all of which have the potential of strategy earnings, end quote. That's right. That's what it said. I had to check that 100 times. It goes on. Quote, strategy... let me start again. Quote, strategy options are a blend of an equity index component, declared rate component, and a strategy spread component. End quote. I hope that made it perfectly clear to you what you're doing now. I'm going to actually break into this a little bit. And the three components it has: equity, declared rate, and strategy spread. So the equity is indexed. It's actually kind of like an index fund. And again, they want to use that hot word. And this was even a few years ago. Everyone knows about index funds. So this is an index fund. It's not really. Shh. But they use the word index because there's no regulation on using index. The declared rate is the part that's fixed. And I mentioned way early at the beginning of the show that you can have indexed annuities or you can have fixed annuities. This has both. Wow, this is magic. It has both. It has the part that makes money and it has the part that's guaranteed. So it's the best of both worlds, and they are so excited about this. They are so excited that they want your money. And then, of course, the strategy spread component, which you might think that you add the money you make in the index, which it's not really an index. You add the rate in the declared rate, the fixed rate, which is not really fixed. It changes every year. And then you add the strategy spread component. No, the strategy spread component is a fee. I love it. It's fucking brilliant. Here, let's give you an example. Again, you're investing $100,000, and this is strategy option A. Remember above when it said strategy options, it gives you a list of options of strategies, whatever. In this case, the equity indexed allocation is 58%, and the declared rate allocation is 42%. Oh, okay. So what does that mean? Well, basically what it means is 58% is going to go into a basket where they're going to play games with your money involving stocks. And 42% is going to go into a basket where they play games with your money involving a fixed rate, maybe 1%, maybe 0%. Oh, wait, look, the declared rate to begin with, the amount that they're going to guarantee you on the fixed rate portion of your investment. And it's nice that they disclose this up front in the pamphlet. The declared rate on the declared rate allocation, the percentage of your portfolio, 42% that is in the declared rate basket, they guarantee you 0% return. Wait, what? Yeah, that's right. 0%. They promise they will pay you nothing on 42% of your money. Isn't that awesome? And then the strategy spread is 2.25%. It's not clear in this little breakout box that I've pulled from their glossy. Beautiful. Oh, so well done pamphlet. The strategy spread of 2.25% is not money they're giving to you. That's the fee that you're paying every year to be an investor, 2.25%. Well, it's not the fee. It's a fee. It's one of the ways that they collect money from you, 2.25%. So on the 42% of your money that is fixed, declared rate, they call it, you're making nothing. But you're not even making nothing, because this 2.25% doesn't apply just to the index, to the stock part. It applies to everything. So the 42% of your portfolio that makes nothing actually loses 2.25% right off the bat. Isn't that amazing? I'm just so impressed with this stuff. Of course, the 58% or 58,000 that's in stock market returns, it has this thing where this is so beautiful. And this is very, very common with this type of product. The first thing is when they compare market returns, they'll show you a graph of what the market has made over a certain period of time. And you can almost guarantee so many of them will start at the beginning of 08, right before the big drop, or maybe 07. Or they'll start in 99 or 2000, right before the big market drop, then for the dot-com bubble. And they'll show you the returns. And you look at the returns, and you don't know. You don't know what the actual returns are, but they show you the returns excluding the dividends. Excluding the dividends. This is very important because in an average year, and there never is an average year, but over time, the stock market makes about 10%. Right now, dividends are only about 2%. But some years it's 3 or 4%. Whatever it is, they pocket all of that right off the top. So not only are you paying 2.25% spread on everything, including the part where you're making zero, a la negative 2.25, they pocket all of the dividends on the part that's invested in the stock market. So as an example, calendar year 2014, this shows you how old this is. This is when I made this. The market was up 13.69%. It just so happened that dividends that year were about 2.3%. And so you don't make 13.69, you make 11.36 on the 58%. So you make about $6,606. Of course, on the fixed part, you're not going to get anything. As a matter of fact, you're going to lose 2.25. And oh, by the way, on the stock part, not only do you lose the dividends, but you lose the you also have to pay the spread. So you didn't make 13.5, you made something over 11 minus 2. So you make $6,000 minus the $2,000 for all of the spread allocation. So in that calendar year, 2014, when the stock market was up 13.69%, your return in this beautiful, wonderful product was 4.36%. The market was up 13.69 and you made 4.36. Yeah, that's how it works. Another interesting thing they had in the prospectus, and I can't remember the name of it. They often give you a table, this big, complicated-ass table that projects what you might make or what you could have made backwards through time. And of course, this product probably didn't exist backwards in time, and they get to pick the ending date and the beginning date to tell whatever story they want. This time they happen to pick 24 years. I don't know why 24 years. Let's see. This was in 2014. I don't know. You would think they would have gone to 2000, which would have been 14 years. Maybe there was a big market drop 10 years earlier than that. That's getting pretty long time ago. But they talk about your $100,000 would have grown to $355,000. You know what? I just figured out why. They did this. This is so hysterical. They picked 24 years because that was an amazing period for the stock market where you could have made a lot of money. As an example, in this time frame, if your money was invested in the stock market, your $100,000 would have turned into $893,864. So they picked that time frame to show how wonderful their investment is. Their investment went from $100,000 to $356,000. $356,000. That's a lot of money. But in the S&P 500, you would have made $894,000. That's a pretty big spread. Now, the funny thing is that if you had all your money in an IRA, you have to pay taxes when it comes out. If you have money in this product, you have to pay taxes when the money comes out. So you don't save anything there. If you take the money out before you're 59 and a half, you're probably going to have to pay the 10% penalty. No savings there. One thing that is interesting is that if you would have invested in regular stocks or stock index funds in a taxable account, a lot of those gains will be taxed at your capital gains tax rate at 15%. Everything you take out of the annuity might be taxed at 20, 22, 24%, maybe even 28 or 30%, depending on your income levels. So we get to a point where the spread is even bigger than it looks, and you can have a difference of $500,000 to $600,000 over the 24-year example that they picked, an optimal time frame for them to use. They still look like warmed up pieces of shit. So If you want to lose $600,000 or $500,000 or only $400,000 over the next 24 years, this is the product for you. And thus endeth example number 2.
What if you're wrong?
Well, what if I'm wrong? I mean, anybody could be wrong. We could all be wrong about the flying spaghetti monster and the pink unicorn and the flying teapot. You happen to have been brought up, I would presume, in the Christian faith. You know what it's like not to believe in a particular faith because you're not a Muslim, you're not a Hindu. Why aren't you a Hindu? Because you happen to have been brought up in America, not in India. If you'd been brought up in India, you'd be a Hindu. If you were brought up in Denmark in the time of the Vikings, you'd be believing in Wotan and Thor. If you were brought up in classical Greece, you'd be believing in Zeus. If you were brought up in Central Africa, you'd be believing in the great Juju up the mountain. I mean, there's no particular reason to pick on the Judeo-Christian God in which, by the sheerest accident, you happen to have been brought up, and ask me the question, what if I'm wrong? What if you're wrong about the great Juju at the bottom of the sea?
The Phil Ferguson Show is for educational purposes only. Nothing said on the show should be interpreted as personalized investment advice. Your investments should be based on your situation, and you should consult with your financial advisor before taking any action. The show may contain ads. These ads are placed into the show by the hosting company after I finish recording and editing. I have little control over the content of the ads, and you should not assume that I support their products or claims. If you choose to support the show via the new Patreon page, that support does not create an advisor-client relationship. Investing skeptically in annuities, part 3. Hopefully you're still awake and following along and doing the math. Not doing the math while you're driving, of course. Hopefully someone else is driving and you're listening going, what the fuck? Over and over as you hear this stuff. Making notes. Of course, if you have questions or you want to talk about your specific annuity and what it might cost you to get out of it, let me know. You can email me anytime. Phil@polarisfinancialplanning.com. I do have my spam filter settings set kind of tight because I get a lot of spam now. But if you don't get through, you don't hear back from me, give me a week or two. But you may email me a second time to follow up, and I won't take offense. Just say, hey, Phil, I sent you an email 2 weeks ago. I didn't hear from you. We'll do what we can. The third example I'm going to do off the top of my head. The other two, I had some things to read that were much more thought out and planned out. But this one really struck me because up until I heard of this, and I think this was in 2017, I had never heard of this method of doing an annuity, and it just struck me again as brilliant. And it's a weird thing because from a mathematical standpoint, from an evil overlord insurance company kind of perspective and trying to figure out clever ways to screw people out of their money, I can really appreciate the brilliance that some of these things have. It is truly amazing. Sometimes, I'm almost in awe, and this is one of those cases. From a consumer perspective, I'm enraged. I cannot believe that this stuff is legal, and it is. All legal. Everything I've talked about so far, including this, is all legal. And matter of fact, you agreed to it because you signed the contract. So it's one of those things that sometimes people consider me to be really boring with my investment advice. I stick to what I know. If I don't know it and I don't understand it, I don't put a fucking dime in it. I mean, even the stuff that I understand has a lot of risk involved. But to invest in something that you don't fully understand, or you think you understand, that's the most dangerous. When you really are convinced, I wish I could remember the thing is that, when dealing with a con man, if you don't know who the mark is, it's probably you. And these are like that. It's all legal. So I'm not alleging anything's illegal. All the companies I've talked about, including this one, and I don't even know the name of this one. I don't remember it. Again, doing this off my head. But a listener of the show contacted me in early 2017. And they said, Phil, I have this annuity, and I know that last year, 2016, the market made about 12%, and I made 0. And I thought, no, you must be reading the document wrong. There's no way you could have made 0. I mean, usually annuities in a year where you're making 12, you could have made 12%. You might make 2 or 3, or like our previous example, 4% or something like that. When the market made 14, you probably made a couple percent. And he goes, no, I literally made 0. It shows right here. And I go, I know that these things are tough, right? It's really hard to get a decent return, but it can't be 0. I think you're misreading. Send me a statement or something showing what you're talking about. And they did. They sent me a statement that said for the entire calendar year of 2016, when the S&P 500 was up 11.96%, and again, you can go check this on the Wikipedia page, S&P 500 index, they made 0. And I thought to myself, how in the fuck is that possible? And I had to know more. So I asked them for more documents. And after I went through them for a while, I realized the brilliance, the sheer genius involved in the design of this variable/indexed annuity. And it was truly a thing to behold. So in this annuity part 3, I'm going to share with you just, on a summary level, how it works. And I think you will love it from a mathematical perspective as much as I do. So this has a guarantee that you won't lose money. Awesome. So in any calendar year, they promise you will not lose money. So whenever the market goes down, you're going to be okay. And that's nice. It really is. They also allow you upside potential as much as 12% in a year. And of course, how they pay for your losses in down years is by limiting your income in up years. And, that also sounds okay because, how often does the market make more than 12% in a year? Well, the funny thing is, quite often, the market swings a lot. It generally never makes 10. Let's see here. Again, I am looking at the Wikipedia page for S&P 500. Let us go back to, 2008 minus 37%. Sure, if you bought this at the beginning of 08, you would have done great. But then when you hold it the following years, and of course, I'm now just going to give you the years that the market made more than 12%. And this is price appreciation plus dividends of the S&P 500 as listed in the S&P 500 Wikipedia page. 2009, positive 26.46%. 2010, 15.06%. 2012, 16% even. 2013, 32.49%. 2014, 13.69%. 2017, 21.83%. 2019, last year, 31.49%. So all those years, half of the years. Now, there was a down year, 2018, minus 4.56. And they protect you to that year. But all those other years where the market made more than 12%, the maximum you could get is 12%. So imagine your delight when the market goes up 32% to find out you only made 12. And I thought to myself, well, maybe it's not so awful because you're going to range between 0 and 12 and a dramatic reduction of your volatility. But the question was still, how did this person, when the market made 11.96%, how did they make 0? And this is the beauty of the details. Okay, so here we go. In any given month, the most you can earn in credit for this annuity is positive 1%. And bank. Okay, you've got positive 1%. February goes up more than 1%, but you're limited to 1% per month. So even if February goes up 5%, you only get 1%. So see, that 12% is not annual. It's 1% per month. And bank, you just locked in another 1%. But wait, it's not really locked in. March comes and the market goes down 6%. There's no limit to the amount of negative credits you can get in a given month. There's only a limit on the positive side. So you made 1% in January, theoretically, because they're not paying you out anything. They do this all at the end of the year, by the way. You make positive 1%, minus 6. Positive 1, positive 1, positive 1, minus 8. Positive 1, minus 12. Positive 1, even though you have a month where the market goes up 15%, you only get 1. And it just so happened that because of the volatility of calendar year 2016, that when you add up all of the positive ones and all of the negatives, no matter how big they are, you end up with something like minus 8. But they step forward and they say, hey, wait a minute. Even though our calculation shows that you should lose 8%, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, from our crazy, crazy method of calculation, you are not going to lose 8%. We guaranteed you that in the worst of cases in any given year, you will make 0. So therefore, we will step in and honor our commitment. And for this horrible year of positive 12% returns, 2016, we are going to step in and cover you and protect you and give you nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, how this works out going forward, I would expect results very similar if you break down month by month, only allowing yourself positive 1 in an up month, but allowing unlimited losses. 2020 would be a great year because if every single month except for March of 2020 was up, you would have 11%, 1% per month. But March lost something like 20, 30%. So you're minus 30. So again, even in this year, we're right now in October, late October, almost November, the market's up, give or take 10%, you would make 0 again in this year. Absolutely amazing. And so the annuity doesn't have to be designed in a way that's familiar, in a way that I've described in part 1, 2, or 3. There could be a part 4 or a part 5. There could be some other way that they've been clever. And like going and seeing a good magician, you think you know how the trick is done, but maybe they only want you to think you know how the trick is done. Who knows? I mean, it's a very interesting and fascinating, and like I said, from a mathematical perspective, from an evil overlord perspective, I think some of this stuff is genius. But from a consumer perspective, stay away from it. I mean, the only time I would ever buy an annuity, and I don't think that I would, is that if you could prove to me, convince to me mathematically how it's going to work in all the detail. And that probably would require you understanding a lot of math, statistics, probability, easily percentage calculations, and then being able to read and understand the entire contract. So, thus endeth Annuity Part 3.
You're listening to The Phil Ferguson Show.
I just remembered that there was a little part that I forgot at the end of Part 3. When this person asked me what they should do, I said they should sell it. And it turns out that they had been in it for 2 years, and the penalty to pulling out early was 8%. And they were very bothered by the idea of losing 8% of their money. And I said, well, you just lost 12% last year in 1 year. You know, so the penalty to get out goes down by 1% every year. You'd lose 8% now, or you could lose, you know, more every year, more and more. It's absolutely staggering how little some of these things pay, and how effective that penalty to get out. And I think those penalties are insidious, by the way. But you agreed to it when you signed the contract. But almost always, it's worth it to pay the penalty to get out. Now, you can check the math, you can run some questions, ask questions, but do your best to figure out if that's the case. But again, it's one of those things that from a starting point, my default is it's better to pay penalty to get out. That's why the penalty is there, because they know if you sit and do the math, you would just take your money out. But you have to be able to do the math and then go, oh shit, I have that penalty. And it's just another roadblock in the psychology of it for you taking your money out, because you don't want to pay that penalty, because not only do you have to admit that you got tricked, that you have to admit that you made a mistake, but now you have to pay more. Actually losing money. Who knows? Going forward, it might work out. It's not going to work out. Just saying. But like I said, in some rare cases, you might find that you want to buy a fixed annuity that starts tomorrow as soon as you put the money in, and you can negotiate and haggle and find a reasonably good deal if you understand what you're doing. It's possible. But just because you happen to meet somebody who knows somebody who took you out to lunch or treats you really nice and flatters you like crazy or comes to your house, odds are it's a piece of shit. That's just the way I see it. So hopefully I don't get sued by anybody. Other fun things, of course, there's still time to vote. So please do go vote. I'd like to say I don't care who you vote for, but I do. I care a whole lot who you vote for. And it's one of those things that drives me nuts. Matter of fact, we were recently, taking a couple of days off, my wife and I. We went up into Michigan, and we were at this apple orchard. And we walked in, and nobody had masks on. And, of course, outside the apple orchard, they had a Trump sign. I should have known. I should have just gone to another fucking orchard. And we got what we wanted real fast and got the hell out of there. We would have bought more stuff, but the staff weren't wearing any masks. So there's that weirdness. The other thing is we were in one of these little small towns, and, it's got the cute little downtown, and it's obviously a tourist trap, but you know what? We're going to go shopping. We're going to look around, and they've got all this beautiful glass and little decorations. Things that you could put on a bookshelf in your house or in a display cabinet or lawn ornaments, and absolutely amazing. And my wife found a couple little things, and I was out in the front yard of this building where they had all this stuff on display and just, admiring the beautiful glass. And someone who was, I guess, an employee, I don't know, maybe the owner, I don't know. He comes up to me. And I'm thinking to myself, what's he going to say, right? He's just like, oh, you enjoying the art or whatever. And he says, crazy times these are with politics, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. And he says, people are going to be losing their rights, and they don't even understand it. They don't know what's about to come. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck is he talking about? And it clicks in my brain, this is a Trump supporter. And so just couldn't help myself, because what I should have done was just turned and walked away. I said, don't worry. In 30 days, he'll be out. And the guy looked at me and he goes, how's Biden going to be out in 30 days? And I go, not Biden, Trump. Trump's going to be elected out in 30 days. And this guy, visibly upset and agitated, is like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're going to lose your rights, and there's a storm coming, and Biden is a liar. I was like, Biden's a liar? Have you ever watched Trump speak? I mean, like every third word is a lie or part of a lie. I don't know. So I just decided, I'm sorry. I don't want to have this conversation. Thank you. I don't want to have this conversation. And he continues. And my wife comes walking out of the store as I'm saying, good day, sir. Trying to get this guy to have the impression that I don't want to talk to him anymore. And like I said, I don't know if he was the owner or an employee. Maybe I should have asked, because if he's just an employee, I could have gone inside and said, I'm being hassled by one of your fucking employees. What the hell is this? And if it was the owner, I could have ran inside and told my wife, put that shit down. We're not buying it. Get our money back. We're out of here. But anyway, yeah, just weird stories out there on the road. The nice thing about Michigan, in most areas, the signage out on the streets was about 50-50 Biden and Trump, which in my neighborhood, the Chicago suburbs, no one has yard signs, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. We saw a lot of yard signs, big signs out in the country. But when we went to areas that were near forests, near ponds, lakes, by Lake Michigan, there was way more Biden signs. And I don't know if it's an environmental thing or if people who care more about the environment tend to be more liberal and tend to move to those areas. But in some areas and some small towns, I think it was 3 to 4 to 1 Biden. I don't think there was any place that there was more Trump signs than Biden signs in a general sense. And some of the Trump signs were cray-cray, like full-blown QAnon conspiracy theory kind of stuff where there's these giant texts. And I kept meaning to pull over and take a picture of one, but I never did. I guess I didn't care enough. But anyway, hopefully you learned some things about annuities today, and hopefully that information was helpful or is helpful. And if you have an annuity, if you know someone that has an annuity and you want help, you can email me. The email is phil@polarisfinancialplanning.com, and I can take a look at it. Just understand that even if you do have the contract, I'm not going to read 150 pages of it. I mean, maybe if you come to me and you have a $5 million annuity, I will. I'm not an idiot. I'll motivate myself if the account's big enough. And also keep in mind that if you've had it for only a few years, there is a potential of a material penalty, 3, 5, 8%. If it's brand new, it might be 10%. I don't think I've ever seen anything over 10%, but you might have a penalty to get out. But if you intend to invest more than a few years, 5, 10, 15, I mean, even if you're 60 and you're thinking, I'm going to retire in 5 years, that's cool, but with a little luck, you're going to live a long time, 15, 20, 30 years. And if you want to leave the money to your spouse, if you want to leave money to your kids, you're still very much a long-term investor, and you might be better off paying the penalty and getting out. But you might not. And if you want my 2 cents on it, you can ask. Do with that information what you want. Run it by a tax professional. Run it by another person. I don't know. Just try to seek out more information than just what you were given by the salesperson. Anyway, that's long enough. We're coming into the holiday season, November and December, and there might be a couple of weeks here and there where I just don't have a show. Almost forgot. Really, I took out the ads. For now, I've turned off the ads from Spreaker. Yeah, that's where I host a website. The podcast, you can get it on any podcast player, of course, but they come from Spreaker. They pull from there. And I was just not convinced that I was getting my fair share of the revenue. Kind of like these annuities where they were probably making way more money off of my podcast than I was making off of my podcast. So for now, no ads. On a whim, I might change my mind later. Maybe I'll get ads that I can read. Maybe I just won't get ads. But in the meantime, if you like the show, and if you like the show a little bit more because there's now not ads, other than the obvious salesmanship and shameless self-promotion of myself and my business, Polaris Financial Planning. If you want to go to patreon.com/Phil and kick in a few bucks per show, it'd be greatly appreciated. It's just a sign to me that, hey, Phil, I like the show. I found it mildly amusing and maybe mildly educational. So here's a buck. I did happen to notice from the last show that there were quite a few new patrons. That's what they call them. Thank you. Thank you very much. There were some at $1, some I think were at $3, and a couple of people were at $6.66 per show. That's a very special level, as you will know. For me, I greatly appreciate any and all contributions. It's just kind of a warm, fuzzy feeling that someone cared enough to kick in a few bucks. I do greatly appreciate it. I'm going to wrap up the show, and hopefully next year we'll have a new president. Oh, my God, please, please, please. I mean, if I thought prayer worked, I'd be on my knees, really, honestly. Hopefully a new president. Maybe I can dream, hopefully, a new Senate, a Democratic Senate, and we can undo some of the crazy shit in the last 4 years and start to have a better future, not just for a select few, but for everybody. I really mean that. It's so important that we take care of each other. It's so important that we take care of the least of those among us. Oh, wait, that sounds kind of like one of the things Jesus said when he wasn't talking about beating people. Anyway, I do hope to see you out there somewhere on the road soon. Until then, ciao.